Can you imagine bringing your kid to this type of event, where to have fun with your son, and then Superman's there just kicking everyone's ass? You're like, how can this be allowed? Like, can you just do something better with your time?
Like, can't you go to fucking space? Can't you like solve like the famine?
And Jimmy the whole
Wait,
time is just
Phil,
like, "That's my dad."
Your voice is like really low for some
Really?
It's
reason.
really deep.
Did your balls just drop?
Could you guys imagine going to... Did it just started?
Is there like?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
Let's
It's like
pause
just
and let me
with the puberty right-
reconnect the mic or something.
Hello and welcome to the Divisive Issues Patreon special bonus episode for this beautiful Christmas month of December. Do we say our names in these?
No, we don't.
No,
Okay.
you know who we are, and if you don't, get the fuck out.
You know who we beat, motherfucker.
You know what we've done. So we're back to our old stomping grounds.
Our old reliable.
Back to our bullshit.
or bullshit,
Yes.
yeah.
We're going to talk about a couple Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen issues. And up first, we're doing the first story from Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen, Volume 1, Issue 71.
I fucking hate
September
this. I hate Jimmy Olsen.
1963.
I
You
hate
hate
that we do
this?
this. I hate that. I hate, this is my least favorite part of my life right now.
I had mentioned to like our group chat to them, but Jimmy Olsen is my Kane. I love him. I think he is the best Superman character by far. I always have fun with him. He's stupid, and I wouldn't mind if he died forever, but I enjoy what I've read of him.
And this issue, like I said, September 1963, that makes it older than both my parents. So very topical. And I'm looking at the DC Wiki right now, and it says Kurt Swan penciled it, but no writer has claimed credit for this issue.
That's a shame. This is
Wonder why.
an okay one.
And unfortunately, we are only doing the first story, but I am intrigued by the second story,
know.
Jimmy Olsen meets Cleopatra.
I also was intrigued actually.
I read a little bit of that. I don't think it's Cleopatra. It's like there's some scheming going on there with that scientist.
Just the one sentence synopsis on the DC Wiki is: to try and get the secret of Professor Potter's levitator, spies capture him and Jimmy Olsen and attempt to convince them that they have traveled back in time to Cleopatra's Egypt. What a dumb thing.
Phil, how can you hate this?
Oh, and then the third story is the 9 lives of Jimmy Olsen. Jimmy Olsen's giving a magic cat's paw by a grateful African tribe, which endows him with 9 lives, 8 of which he uses up by the end of the story.
And then in his last life, he's in a fucking coffin, unbeknownst to his first life.
Okay, so Sly, what's going on in this cover?
Yeah, so like Phil suggested, you can never trust what's on these fucking covers. So the cover is the plot against Jimmy Olsen, and it shows four Jimmy Olsen's falling out of the plane, and they're all saying, "Hey, Superman, save me! Hey, Superman, save me!" And Superman says, "Great Krypton! I must decide in 1 second which Jimmy's real. Or my best friend will die." So, what was you guys' theory coming into the story?
He was cloned.
I thought that he was going to end up finding some like scientific test tube and wander in it would just keep spitting out a bunch of Jimmy Olsen.
So we've all been affected by the Clone Saga recently, clearly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was one of the reasons I wanted to do this, is because of the Clone Saga parallels.
And that's one of the questions I had too. Was like,
Parallels.
when I thought they were all clones, I was like, he's kind of immoral if he doesn't save any of them because they're people.
Yeah.
Are they
And, like-
people or are they just people?
That's a question.
are.
You know,
That we've learned from Ben Reilly's adventures. They're people.
and he says, the Jimmy Olsen say not only are they all saying, "I'll save me," but like some of them are being like, "Don't save them! Like they're liars. I'm your pal."
I don't want to spoil it, but the way Jimmy gets out of this this scene is maybe my favorite plot resolution we've read. So, okay, are we ready to start?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, as always, it starts in media res with 4 Jimmy Olsens showing up to date his girlfriend, Lucy. And they're like, "I have the date. No, I have the date." And she looks concerned and scared.
Yeah. So the thing is, like, whereas a lot of the other stories are like, how does this cover even relate to the in media res picture? It's like this one has a pretty clear like through line. You're like,
Yeah.
this is in the middle of the story, and then he's gonna fall off the helicopter at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it starts, there's a... it's not a Macy's parade, it's the Stacy's parade, where there's a big Superman balloon. And this is, we just celebrated Thanksgiving a couple days ago. This is super topical. And the the rope snaps. And as Jimmy's here because they asked for his expert authority on Superman to see if the balloon
first
is
they
good?
tried to contact Superman. I'm like, do you have to contact someone to make sure that the balloon's accurate? Like, if you're making a balloon of Obama, you're like, we tried calling Obama and he didn't answer.
Well, recurring theme of all Superman comics is that Superman has unlimited free time and just spends his time.
I noticed
going
that
to every
too.
fucking event.
He's like, I'm gonna go to the science fair. It's like, you have better shit to do, I think.
Yeah, like we always argue about the morals of Secret Identity, where Superman should spend his time being Clark Kent. Well, he should definitely not be spending his time going to Macy's Parade and evaluating his balloon.
I think you mean the Stacy's Parade.
Oh, and speaking of Macy's Parade, this is prophetic because what happens is very similar in a weird way to what happened to the real Superman Macy's Day Parade in the 80s.
Really?
Oh, I don't know about that.
So let's say what happened to the comic, and then Sly will tell us how this is prophecy fulfilled.
Spoilers, he doesn't, and we forget all about it. So the rope breaks, and for some reason, Jimmy Olsen thinks, I'll grab it, and that'll help hold this huge-ass balloon. Mm-hmm. So he flies away on the balloon, and he climbs up, and so he doesn't slide off. He wants a better grip, so he climbs up to Superman's nose.
Yeah.
And he's like, I wish I could call for Superman, but he's in space on a special mission.
Hey,
And
I
now
like that they address why he's not here. You know.
Yes.
I hate it because he's always in space. It's like your dad being like, I can't hang out with you. I got like work. And you're like,
Speaking of your
never
dad
hang
hanging out with you,
me.
don't spoil our next story, Daryl.
So the Superman balloon is heading right towards Boxing Stadium, which has a big bronze statue of the big boxer. And the balloon is lined up perfectly for this boxing statue to punch Superman in the nose, where
How
Jimmy is trying
The
to
Superman
hang out.
balloon knows. Like, Superman his face will be red after this event.
Yeah, red because there's a ginger sitting on his nose. So Jimmy's like, oh no, that would be embarrassing, and I'll get punched also. So I'm gonna pop this balloon in such a way with, I guess he just carries a switchblade.
Pop, yeah, he pokes a hole into the balloon, and then he uses the air from it. He uses his hand like a valve, and he uses the air to like land himself, kind of like a weird plane, onto the ground. And they're like, wow,
and he lands. He lands in the middle of the street, and everyone's like, Jimmy Olsen has saved the Superman balloon for the parade. And he gets written up in the Daily Planet as Jimmy Olsen, the unique reporter. That's the headline.
What a thing to be called.
The unique reporter.
But there's someone who isn't happy. It's that zany fifth dimension imp, Mr. Mixospitalik.
Is that pronouncing Mr. Mixospitalik? I don't know.
I don't know. Whatever. And I mostly know him from the cartoon where Gilbert Gottfried voices him, and it's incredible.
Yeah,
Oh,
the
that's
cartoon
it.
version.
That actually does sound.
It's really great.
I really hate Mixer Mixospitalik, whatever the fuck, in the comics. I love him in the cartoon.
He's my favorite Superman villain because I'm also a small imp who
likes
just makes everyone's
pranks.
lives miserable.
Yeah, so he reveals that he wanted the Superman balloon to float into the boxing glove and get punched, but now his joke's spoiled. So he's going to show Jimmy Olsen how unique he is and teach him not
So
to
that means
meddle
we're not
with
being
my
sarcastic, by the way. When we say, oh, we make Superman look red in the face, we got his balloon gets punched in the nose. Like, what the fuck? Plan this out. You're going to have Superman's balloon get punched in the nose, and that'll be fucking hilarious. Haha.
I think that's pretty funny.
I think he would just be like, isn't that kind of funny? And then move on. It would be like on the news for like maybe on the 50th page, maybe.
Yeah.
It's like the principle of it for him. He wants to see Superman balloon get punched in the face. It's
Even a Superman balloon is too sacred. In
This creature is like a god entity, by the way. Like he fucking he can do anything.
Okay,
he wants.
but his goal is never to like kill people or.
I know,
rule
but
the world.
even if you want
he
to
just like he wants to do funny stuff.
I know, even if you like humiliate Superman, like this is like bottom like 100 planes you can come up with.
Maybe he's used up all of his good pranks.
Well, he saves his A material for the actual Superman comic book. He only gives Jimmy Olsen the B stuff.
I was gonna say this prank's pretty good because what he does is there's 4 Jimmys now. Like he shows up into work and there's just 4 Jimmys and they're like, one of them's like, who are they? They're imposters. I'm the real Olsen. No, I am. Don't
This is
believe
the
them.
plan. This is the prank he comes up with after he wants. to
If you want to annoy everybody, quadrupling the amount of Jimmy Olsens in the world is a pretty good idea.
Yeah, pretty terrifying actually.
Yeah.
So they're fighting that they all want to sit at the desk and chair to do their work. They're all arguing with Perry White that the other ones are the imposters. And then at this moment, Superman comes back as Clark Kent, and he's like, I'll use my X-ray vision because one of them must be a dummy or a robot or something. But for some reason, his X-ray vision isn't working on these Jimmies. There's only one man who could be responsible, Mr. Mxyzptlk. This must be one of his zany tricks, and he doesn't want me to learn which Olsen is real. So the real Jimmy has this great idea to dress up like a beatnik so that he
has goatee and an artist chapeau on his head.
Yeah, so this way people will know that he's the real one because he's the one who doesn't look like Jimmy Olsen.
Well, he's the one that they would be able to predict that he looks different, so he'll be able to say, "Oh, they're trying to look like Jimmy Olsen usually looks," but
okay,
Yeah.
But of course, all the Jimmys show up dressed exactly the same, and they're at the
Mr.
science
God,
museum.
and he can predict what Jimmy's gonna do, so Jimmy's fucked.
Yeah.
No, this is where I started getting interested because I'm like, actually, because my reasoning was that all the Jimmys were dressing up like beatniks too to show that they were the real one as well. So it's like, how do you
that's what I
outwit
thought.
yourself when every step of the way you are thinking the same thing, like the other clone of you is thinking the exact same thing?
I just assume Mr. Mxyzptlk is fucking with him 100% of the time because, like I said, he is like a deity. So
how do you outwit yourself when you're a dimwit like Jimmy Olsen? So now all of them, and it's also funny because these Jimmys are all like actually doing his job. They all take notes and write an article about it, and all run in. And Perry White's like, "Get those notes, get out of my sight. Put those notes down."
Which is weird because he's like, Jimmy's such a good reporter, and he's like mad that he has now more excellent reporters on his team. And then Jimmy's like, "I'll wear my watch."
He doesn't want to pay for them.
That's the conflict because now Perry White doesn't know who to pay, so he's like, "I guess I'll pay none of you, haha." I win again.
And this, I will never be convinced that Perry White is not like Jonah Jameson levels of asshole because of this, where he's like, there's 4 of you all doing work. I'm going to pay none of you because no reason. Unionize!
Because technically 3 of them are unpeople, so he doesn't want to give it to an unperson, you know?
Yeah,
but you split it. That's what I was thinking, is you'd split it if you wanted to be fair. But instead he's like, no paycheck at all. What an asshole.
Yeah. So Jimmy moves his signal watch to the other wrist, and then so do they. He's like, I'll go on my date. They all show up, like we saw in the immediate res page. And I really love that his girlfriend's like, prove it to someone else. I went along with it when you were Wolf Boy, an Elastic Lad, and a Pygmy, but 4 of you are too much of a good thing.
My favorite is how Wolf Boy and Elastic Lad are bolded. They're like his like actual identities, but Pygmy is not. It's just like, he was a Pygmy one day.
He was just a Pygmy. He wasn't the Pygmy.
Yeah. He goes to the Jimmy Olsen fan club that exists, and he's like, they'll know, but they're all like, nope, they're all the same. So he's like, I'll go home. I got proof of my identity at home, which was only an excuse.
Is this a fan club for? I thought this was like the Superman fan club. Is it a fan club?
No,
he says the Jimmy Olsen fan club.
Oh
yeah.
my God.
I was shocked at
this
that too, actually.
They're all wearing bow ties, just like
Yeah,
him.
This is terrible.
Think about all the fucking sycophants in real life. Superman's best friend will definitely have a fan club if he was real.
Jimmy Olsen is just DC's PewDiePie. I'll say.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. PewDiePie has a fan base. Jimmy Olsen get a fan base. Fuck it.
So Jimmy sneaks out, pretending to go home, and he calls for Superman. And Superman's like, with my X-ray vision gone, I can't be sure who's the right one, but I'll figure it out. But I have to deliver the special gift to the Science Museum tomorrow. So I guess he's like, just go home and sleep in a bed with 4 Jimmy Olsens. You'll figure it out. So Jimmy's like, oh, even Superman doubts me. So far I've lost my best friend, my girl, and my salary because of this nightmare. So he's in the newscopter, Jimmy now. It's the next day. And he's like, I'll write such a great story about Superman's gift. He'll know. Perry will know I'm the real reporter. And Mr. Mxyzptlk's like, this will show him. He has all the Jimmys show up in the helicopter as if by magic. And then he just gets rid of the floor so they all fall to their death.
Mm-hmm. And so this is when we have the cover where it's like, save me, I'm the real Jimmy, and Superman's trying to decide which. And then one of the Jimmys goes, wait, that boxer statue almost punched the Superman balloon in the nose. It gives me an idea. He punches himself in the nose, and then blood spurts out of his nose. And Superman's like, wait a second, the human duplicates can't bleed, so that has to be
How
the
do you
real Jimmy.
fucking know that, Superman?
And
How does he know that?
They can't? Like, are
He can do
you
everything
sure?
Jimmy can do, but he can't bleed. Also, I want to point out, we were saying, Mr. Mxyzptlk made that fucking balloon prank because he doesn't want to kill anyone. He was trying to kill Jimmy Olsen in his one fucking page. So, no, that prank was just dumb, even in the context of Mr. Mxyzptlk pranks.
Okay, but there's a difference between wanting to kill Superman, everybody's favorite hero, and Jimmy Olsen, some idiot.
He's the young person in reality.
So Superman just lets the 3 Jimmy clones fall into the river.
So the
and
weird thing,
die.
I'm
He
like,
can fucking move beautiful sound. Like,
yeah,
he can,
Well,
he's fast enough.
I assume that they like just didn't calculate powers as much back then. But for me, I'm like, especially in the next story we read where he talks about creating solar systems, I'm like, you are definitely fast enough to catch 4 people.
He makes an active choice to let all these things die.
it shows that they actually were clones, and he just let them
Yeah.
die. What a fucking prick.
On the cover when he says I have 1 second to choose, I'm like, you are fucking Superman. You can catch these people.
It's
Also,
like a
they're landing in a
millennia.
river. He could now still go save them.
That
You don't
too,
have to
yeah.
die.
Yeah, and so now this is my favorite part of any Mixer.
So yeah, the trick with every Mixospitalik story is always to get him to be banished to his dimension for 30 days, which is conveniently the amount of time in between issues of Superman. He has to Superman and Jimmy Olsen have to trick him into saying his name backwards. So
I can't imagine falling for that more than once or twice. in my
That's
life.
why the cartoon version is awesome, because Mr. Mixer plays a moron and Superman tricks him in like 5 seconds. But here, Superman has to be more crafty with his fucking plans.
Yeah.
So there's Mr. Mixospitalik overhears a radio station saying so at 2:00 station KLTP will present a great radio feature, The Life of Mr. Mixospitalik, the super practical Joker. And he's like, finally, they've realized my greatness. To make sure they describe my tricks correctly, I'll listen in.
This is
So
like
he
Ryan,
goes-
a podcast is like, we're gonna interview Gurney, and you're like, oh, I gotta go on this.
Yeah, he's me, except I just don't have a cool little hat.
Yes.
So he's like, this special feature is being broadcast on KLTP, but not our 2 affiliated FM stations, ZYXM and WMCA. And Mr. Mixospitalik finds this unacceptable. I demand that you give my great story full coverage. And he's like, I want the program broadcast on all 3 stations, KLTP, ZYXM, and I said my name backwards. It's a trick.
He spelled his name
And-
backwards. Doesn't fucking count.
But that counts. They
I
do
know,
in the
but like, that
cartoon,
doesn't
too.
make fucking sense. Well, how can I count?
And so he fades away. Superman was actually that radio host in
I
disguise.
love that too.
And Jimmy's like, now all I have to do is convince everyone what they were that didn't happen at all. So I guess he just has to gaslight everybody. And
Well,
thus
Superman
concludes.
gaslights them. He can give him pointers on gaslighting
Yeah, that's true.
So I have like 2 points about this. The first one is this now holds up in my theory where I'm like, Jimmy Olsen is secretly trying to kill Superman. This is his origin. It was the evil clone that was saved, not Jimmy. Jimmy died in the river. And my second is 30 days on banishing this dude that can just alter reality at will is a pretty, like, that's a shitty punishment on, like,
Yeah.
like, it should be a year. Like, 30 days, like, you would have to live in constant terror that, like, you can't trust anything around you once those days are up. It'd suck
Yes.
to live with this dude.
That's why he's the best, because everyone hates him so
That's what I was wondering too. Like, does anyone try to stop him for good? Like, are there people who can go that are god tier level that can fight him? I guess he's not
Well,
that
one
bad,
time-
but-
One time, this is a story that's been suggested for us to do on the show. One time, Mixospitalik thinks it'd be funny to give his powers to the Joker, and the Joker destroys reality.
Yeah.
Like, almost instantly.
Is this like a rewriting the DC universe type of deal?
No. He's
Okay.
just like, they, eventually they beat him, but it's just like, Joker's like, I'll just make everyone get tortured for an infinity amount of time.
That's why I
Wow.
like that's why I like the cartoon version, because in the cartoon, he is like unstoppable. But since he's a moron, Superman convinces him like, "Hey, let's play. This isn't fun if you just own me all the time. What if we have rules to this game?" And
Yeah.
So it's like it's good. So the show, he's just a fucking moron. But the comics makes no fucking sense, and they have made dark mixed stories because of that.
I can bet. If you can make Mr. Mind really dark, I bet you can do this with this guy.
If you can make fucking what's it, Captain Boomerang?
Captain Boomerang?
Yeah, if you can make him dark, you can make anything dark.
And in the cartoon, Mixospitalik also like treats this like his day job. He has this like really attractive wife that like is just like, come back to bed, Mixie, and he's like, no, I gotta go to work and make Superman embarrassed. And it's just really funny.
The Gilbert
Like, it's-
Gottfried thing really makes it sound better than it
Yeah,
would
like
be
it's
otherwise.
treated. I like characters like this that are like campy, but like they're treated like this is just a fun goof.
Yes.
Like he's not actually trying to like destroy the world. He's just like it's just like a game.
There's no real
And I
stakes
think
in
that's
those-
fun.
in
Yeah,
those
yeah,
episodes.
exactly.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. And then you have like Alan Moore or something writes it where he's a pedophile, and you guys are like,
Alan Moore made him dark. It's
Alan
like-
Moore actually did make him dark, and he was like, "Hey, Superman, Mixospitalik is gonna make you watch your dog die of cancer."
Oh my god.
every time.
It was literally Alan Moore
See
too.
why-
Like, it's so funny he
see
said
why
that
he-
because I don't know if this is a spoiler, but he makes Mr. Super dark.
Yeah. That's supposed to be Alan Moore's farewell to the Silver Age.
I can't wait. One time I'm like, I can't wait to see Batman suck his dick, and then you guys are like, actually.
It probably is a fucking comic where it's bad.
I mean, he pissed his pants already, so.
Yeah. So, okay, so now we're going to go even further back in time. Not to Cleopatra, but we're going to do Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen, issue 30 from August 1958. Penciled by the great Kurt Swan and written by Otto Binder.
I had to say, this cover I liked so much that before I even read the comic, I had to show Chrissy and be like, let's read this. Look at this. Look at this cover.
So I actually so speaking of that, I actually read this comic years before because I saw this cover and I was like, I have to read this fucking comic.
Yes.
And I forgot how dumb it was. Like, I underestimated how fucking stupid this comic was.
So this story is called The Son of Superman, and it's Jimmy Olsen on the cover giving Superman a robe that's embroidered with the Superman insignia from a box that says "To Dad Superman" from Jimmy. And Superman is burning it with his heat vision. And he says, "Jimmy, this gift you got me for Father's Day makes me sorry I ever adopted you as my son. I'll have to destroy it to teach you a lesson." And Jimmy's saying, "But Superman, I mean Dad, what did I do wrong?"
I thought
You
this
will
was
call
the
me
funniest.
Super Dad, son.
Yeah, this was the funniest cover to me.
My favorite part about it is "To Dad Superman."
Yeah, why Super Dad? What the fuck? What a missed opportunity here.
I love the idea of like an editor or like an executive pitching this to them where it's like, I want to see Superman burning a Father's Day gift from Jimmy Olsen. You're like, what? Like, I have to write this fucking story? Are you serious?
Just imagine, like, yeah. So, what did you guys think was the setup here? That's my question.
I
had no
I had
idea.
no idea.
My first thought is always it's an evil clone of like Superman or something like that, or it's like he. No, the thing is, I'm like retroactively thinking of what it could be, knowing what the twist is, so I can't say it.
I figured it was something like an alternate, like imaginary story where Jimmy imagines what Superman would be like as his dad.
Yeah.
And for some reason, he imagines Superman just being a massive fucking dick for some reason.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
What's really funny is in the Silver Age, they didn't have like trade paperbacks or collected editions, so they would just reprint stories in like these 80-page giants or 100-page giants for like a quarter, so you could read like origin stories. And I'm looking at 80-page giant number 2, which has this as the main like featured
Main
story as
attraction.
reprinted. Yeah, it's small. You have Jimmy's wedding, Pinocchio Jimmy, the alien Olsen, Flame Boy, origin of Elastic Lad, the human skyscraper, but right taking up the whole half of the page is the Son of Superman, and it's him giving him a robe.
It is the most curious story.
So okay,
We
So
start
it
in media-
starts-
Go ahead.
it starts in media res, sure, with Superman doing dishes at super speed. And he right in his kitchen, which has a sign that says "Bless our super home," and he's washing them with super speed, and I guess drying them with heat vision.
That makes sense. You just
Which
radiate,
I feel like-
radiate all your dishes, so when you eat them, you fucking get cancer.
Yeah.
Well, he has, his vision's heat, right? It's not giving you
But it's like all heat, like radiation, like something like that.
not like cancer, like ionizing.
I mean,
radiation.
there's
uses
different
X-rays
ways.
on
There's different
them,
ways to
yeah.
heat things. It could be radiation. It could be conduction. It could be
Because I know
convection.
microwaves are radiation. I know that.
Yeah.
So
But those they release microwaves.
yeah, but I know, but
He is using X-rays.
Is he?
And it's like
he does use
yeah.
X-rays at points.
Well,
Yes.
well, it said like it said that
Later in the story,
later
they
he
say his
burns the-
X-ray heat vision.
Yeah,
he burns the
originally it was just X-ray
present.
vision. I think eventually they made it so like X-rays thing so hard
Oh.
it heats them up.
Oh
but
my
this is back in
God.
the days when they realized X-rays cause cancer, probably. So they're like, "This is amazing technology. You can use it on everything."
Yeah.
I like the idea that when he, in the previous story, tried to X-ray the Jimmy Olsens, he was really going to set them on fire.
Well, if he did it long enough.
Yeah, so it's the day before Jimmy Olsen's birthday, and Superman saying, "Relax, Jimmy, I'll do the dishes at super speed. What would you like to do tomorrow for your birthday?" And Jimmy says, "Take me on a flying trip around the world, Dad. Gosh, it's great to have a super father like you." And this made me ask the question, how old is Jimmy Olsen? because he has a full-time job and doesn't go to school.
He's a club reporter, so I assume he was he's like 18 or something like that.
Yeah, maybe.
That's pretty young. That's pretty old to be like.
It's too old to have
Dad.
an adopted father raising you.
You're
Like
never too old to say thanks, Dad, Ryan. Gee
Yeah, just because
whiz.
you don't say that to your dad doesn't mean that some people don't.
So so then we cut back the backstory now. Boy employees of the Daily Planet one day joyfully attend a picnic sponsored by their newspaper, except for one red-headed lad. And this is the father and son's picnic. And some kid is just like, didn't you bring your dad, Jimmy Olsen? He's like, I can't. I'm an orphan. I have no father. And just then, Superman shows up and he's like, you have, Jimmy. For years, you've been almost like a son to me. Why don't I just adopt you?
When he says this, you have to clarify, Brian. He comes in with adoption papers, like out of the blue, saying, "You said you're an orphan, Jimmy. What about I become your dad?"
So, like all things that you're not sure if you want to commit to, this adoption has a warranty policy where it is a 30-day trial period where Jimmy can back out anytime if Superman is not a good dad.
They don't clarify this. They don't clarify this at this point. But later on, they reveal like if you return this adoption paper, you can never file for another adoption ever again. It's a one-time deal.
It's also it's so bizarre. They show up with this thing. It's like, no, you're my son now. Like you didn't consent to this. You're my son. As an adult.
Oh yeah, it's true.
back out.
So he's written up and everything. Like they're ready. Like you're my son already. Like
Yeah, Jimmy's like, oh, okay.
But he can back out.
I know, but
At
so
any
funny.
time during this 30-day trial
The thought process, like Superman
What
fights
would
and
happen
saying,
if Superman had written this up and then just kept it for 30 days?
"Oh yeah,
Like,
shoot,"
and
and
then
Jimmy Olsen's
Jimmy's
like,
like-
"I guess I'm adopted."
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what it's like to adopt kids, but like
I know, so I'd like to adopt man children, but
I don't think.
that's what I was thinking.
he has to be like 16 or something. Like
He must be under
16-year-old
18 if he's
looking-
being adopted, though.
He never goes to
I-
school,
for
right?
so
It's so
long.
fucking weird. He never goes to school.
Yeah,
right?
but I don't think he goes to school.
Yeah.
Does he not go to school? Maybe in the 60s you could. Oh, actually, you could drop out at 16
so maybe.
today still. Maybe he just dropped out of high school to
Maybe he
go
never
be a
went to school.
reporter.
Maybe orphans don't go to school back in the 50s.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So they go to the father-son picnic. Seems unfair. Superman wins all the events. He wins the
Can you
three-legged
imagine
race.
bringing your kid to this type of event, where to have fun with your son, and then Superman's there just kicking everyone's ass? You're like, how can this be allowed? Like, can you just do something better with your time?
Like, can't you go to fucking space? Can't you like solve like the famine in Africa?
So yeah, Superman's going through all these events. They win the three-legged race. He has the strongman act where he's bending steel while Jimmy yells at everyone, "That's my dad!" He hits a home run
This
using
is so
twigs
unfair
for a bat.
too, just to have Superman here just wrecking these people with his fake son.
So then at the end of a happy day. So wait, Daryl, you're saying that if you're adopted, they're not your real
No,
parents?
no, but I'm just like
They don't
Well,
count.
like they have like actual like prizes and like all these kids were like looking forward. Hey, I'm gonna win! I really practiced my dad my baseball game, and then Superman comes in and just like, suck my dick. Kids like,
Well, in Jimmy's defense, these kids did go up to him and be like, "Where's your dad, orphan?"
they were just like, didn't you bring your dad?
I know.
They weren't like, you monster.
Yeah,
how
they do
dare
it on
you."
purpose.
Yeah.
They could have been.
So now Superman carries Jimmy away, and at the end of a happy day, we'll live together in this house I rented, Jimmy. And there's a big sign out front: Superman and Son. And he's
That's
like,
like,
oh.
man, this is one thing I expected to bring up. Like, Superman, I saw spoilers, does not get brought up at all. The fact that Superman, like, Jimmy Olsen's life being in constant danger, being in a house called Superman's Son, like, like, Super will bomb that house first before doing anything else. I thought they would bring it up, but they never bring that up.
Yeah. And Jimmy's like, I'll spend evenings here with my super dad. And Superman, always the humble man he is, set up all of Jimmy's Superman souvenirs as trophies in the house. Because the only thing Jimmy owns are Superman adjacent things.
This is where I was like, I don't feel like it's a good idea to adopt this person that's obsessed with you. It's so bizarre.
Yeah,
This
it's like
relationship.
like the celebrity that you idolize. Like you're like, I want them to be my dad.
It's adopting your, like,
There's a
Stalker.
million reasons why this should not happen. They don't go into any of them.
Yeah, this is definitely a fetish of Superman's. So he has a secret room that's labeled Secret Room. And it's where he keeps all his secret identity stuff, like the clothes he wears. So he makes Jimmy promise that he won't look in that room until the 30-day trial period is over. Because I guess after these 30 days, he'll find out who Superman is.
Yeah, I mean,
Which
you can't
seems
live
like-
with someone like always in costume and stuff.
Maybe you could.
Maybe you could.
What a life that would be.
So anyway, Superman has really diving even deeper into his fetish. He dresses as Clark Kent and can't wait for Jimmy to tell him who his new dad is, so he can act
Fuck
surprised.
Superman, he's such garbage.
Then he brings Jimmy to the Fortress of Solitude. He shows him the big key he uses to unlock it. He shows him the animal.
I love where
that
he's like, you can't know my secret identity, but here's how I get into this place with all these like universe-destroying weapons.
Yeah, this is where all my fucking secret stuff, everything I've ever collected in my Superman life, it's all here.
Yeah,
But you
so
can't
he has
know.
this big space alien that eats big diamonds that Superman squeezes out of
And
coal.
this is where I was like, you have too much free time, buddy, if you're keeping this thing alive.
he
Nature
has a
wants it to die.
statue-
Clearly, like, let it die. only fucking diamonds. Come on.
Yeah.
He has a statue that is of what humans will look like in 1 million AD. He has the giant tools he used to build this place.
If you're wondering
I
what
love
humans
that
look
too.
like in 1 million AD, they're just wearing a toga and they have a big forehead.
This comes up either before the story or after the story because they have a Superman from the future and he has a big dick head like this too.
Dickhead.
Big dick. So my absolute favorite thing that he shows Jimmy is a huge super mural that Superman painted
Himself.
in excruciating detail.
That's what I thought. This was crazy, dude. Not that partially the fact that he was able to do this to make his own solar system, but the fact that he came back and painted it.
Yeah,
Like,
where he's like, look how fucking good I am. Look at everything
I mean, like
did.
it's one of those things. Like I can't imagine what it's like to create life on that level where you're like, I'm basically God. Like, would
So
you
what
not?
he did, so just real quick, what he did was he had a super telescope that showed a distant sun blowing up, destroying the family of planets. They all escaped in spaceships, but had no home to return to. Speeding there, he gathered millions of meteors and fused them together, constructing artificial planets for these homeless people. Finally, finding a burned-out star, I rekindled it into a blazing new sun with an atomic match, which is just a huge match that sets off suns. And he painted all this stuff in just beautiful detail.
After the people moved
So
to
after
the
the
new
people-
world, they named
yeah.
various parts in my honor. So he points, and it's like a map of it. It's like Superman's sun, Superman's comet, Superman's planet, Superman's asteroid. And this is when I was like, is he like a fascist and he rules this place? Like, why would you name everything? It's like, this is Superman's planet. That's Superman's
it's not
sun.
named-
No, they
like-
said
They
they named it after him in his honor. He's just,
Yeah,
he didn't
but
name
no,
it.
but-
Sure. They named it after him in his honor.
That's the
They
story he
didn't
tells
name them
Jimmy.
after him,
the
though.
Superman fascist.
It's not like it's Super Monopolis or something. It's Superman's
Planet,
planet.
yeah.
That's possessive.
Yeah.
That's saying he owns.
Okay,
this
but
planet.
Halley's Comet is not like we're honoring him for discovering it. We're not like it's his. Don't you touch it.
That's fair.
Like we name shit like that all the time for the people who discover stuff.
It'd just be weird.
like-
But the thing is, no one lives on Halley's Comet, whereas millions of people live on Superman's planet.
Supposedly that was their choice to make.
So then Superman's like, I know what every kid loves. Here's a gun.
A
Truly
gun that
contradiction
shoots
of
lightning.
1950s American gun culture.
Yeah. So he's like, I have to
question:
check on
would
some.
any of you not want to shoot a lightning gun?
I guess
No, I
I
would.
would.
I would definitely.
So Superman is like, I have to go check on something in my secret room. Here, have some target practice with the special gun I made that shoots lightning bolts. So Jimmy's doing it, and he's like, wow, this is I'm the happiest boy in the world. He's the most wonderful father anyone could have. And then Superman comes back and is like, Jimmy, fuck you.
Yeah, give me that
He's
gun,
like,
you piece
hands
of shit.
off.
I told you not to touch
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, he's like, hands off that gun, son. Don't you know better than to use my things without permission? And he's like, but Dad, you did give me permission. And he's like, don't contradict me. As punishment, I forbid you to ever come here again. And this is when I assumed, like, the Superman that was burning the robe is, like, an evil clone.
Yeah,
or like he
this
was,
is where I
like-
thought he got taken over or something.
Yeah. So he's like...
Because
when
he
did
didn't
my
even
dad turn-
remember telling him that he could use the gun. So I'm like, this isn't the same guy.
Yeah. So then
That makes
he's
so much
like,
sense.
why did
That's
my-
not what we get.
Why did
Explanation
my
right away.
dad turn so grumpy? And then he takes him to the trophy display and is like, it's disgraceful. Shine these trophies. Shine these trophies. And then he's
One
like,
of the trophies
oh, I have
just
to
looks
go.
like feces. I'm like, what is
It
this?
does.
supposed to be?
Well, shine my turd, you piece of shit. That's what you are. You're just my turd.
So then Superman's like, you're doing the dishes now, you piece of shit. I'm going on an adventure. And he goes and he saves this plane by knocking this mountain off the way. And Jimmy's like, oh, wow, when my dad does super feats, he gives all these scoops to Clark Kent instead of me, his own son.
He complains that back when he was his buddy, he would go with him on these adventures, but now he's his son. He's stuck doing dishes now too.
This is a small aside, but do you think there's a conflict of interest when Superman writes stories about himself as Clark Kent?
Yes, he's biased.
Yeah. It's
Obviously, he's biased.
Superman, greatest hero of all time.
Biggest dick of all time. Fuck you, Batman.
I've heard Superman has a big dick. Ladies confirm.
Inside scoop: Batman has sucked it.
So,
And Alan Moore's like, "This is great."
That's what Batman v Superman was really about. Like, Batman figured out the truth. He's like, "Fuck you, Superman." He just wanted to beat the shit out of him.
Jimmy uses his signal watch to try to get a ride home from work, and Superman's like, "Take it off. I'm giving it to Lois Lane."
I love that. He literally makes him take the watch off for using it, and he's like, "I'm giving this away."
I love that he gives it to like his booty call.
Yeah. And then the secret room was left open, and he's like, "Jimmy, you've been snooping in there, you piece of shit." And he's like, "I didn't, I promise." And he's like, "If I catch you in here again, I'll go hard with you."
Yeah, it's like
It'll go hard with you.
It'll go hard with you.
Yeah.
I'm like,
So-
is that a common phrase?
People, debate whether or not, spanking is okay. Is Superman spanking possibly ever okay? Because how does he not kill you?
Well, I assume he can, soften, do regular. It's sort of like how he can punch people but not kill them, even though he can.
That's true. Which is a crazy thing for me to imagine too. It's like if your muscles can hit hard enough to blow up mountains, how do you scale it back enough to not explode people?
He's magic. He's weak.
So now we start finally getting to the cover.
It's June 14th. It's June 14th, 3 days before their 30-day trial of
adoption.
Adoption is over. I kept trying to say abortion. I think I just want Jimmy to die. So
Superman's like, "It's not your father. I can abort you."
That would be
Yeah.
Superman was his super mom.
This is what Democrats want: 16-year abortion.
So Jimmy's like, "I'll take my savings out of the bank and get him a real nice gift for Father's Day."
Yeah, so
And
this
he
is
gives him
leading up to the
robe.
cover, and to add more context to it, he was taking out savings to buy Superman the robe that he.
And he had it tailor made
Yeah.
just for you. And Superman's like, "The emblem's crooked and the colors don't match my costume closely enough. I won't wear anything that poorly made." And he burns it up.
Yeah.
Cuts to Jimmy crying in bed, and he's like, "I don't know why, but it all turned out so wrong. I guess there's only one thing to do. I have to go to court and call it off. I can't stand it anymore." So he goes to court and calls it off. And
The judge is shocked.
is like,
"What? Why would anyone not want to be Superman's son? What do you have to say, Superman?" And Superman's like, "If Jimmy wants to call it quits, that goes double for me."
I love this idea too. That immediately when it comes up, the judge takes Superman's side. He's like, "What kind of piece of shit do you have to be, Jimmy?" When it's
This is like the
Superman's
50s,
emotionally abusive.
Well, this is the 50s. If a wife
That's
said,
true,
"Oh,
yeah.
Superman fucking beat me," how dare you contradict your husband?
This is why the story was at the big compilation first, because it's a period piece about paternity.
So, as they're leaving, Jimmy's like, "Well, goodbye, Dad. I mean, Superman. I guess you'll never want to see me again." And he's like, "Wrong, Jimmy. I still wish you were my son. I'll explain why I deliberately caused our breakup as a fortress of solitude."
So he did this as a way to make it, instead of just telling Jimmy, "Hey, maybe I shouldn't be your dad." He goes through all that dickery just because of this sequence of events.
Yeah. So he has this big computer that predicts calamities days or weeks in the future. It's never
And immediately
wrong.
I'm like, why would you not? Why do you keep this at the Fortress of Solitude instead of giving it to just an American facility?
Or the UN or
Yeah,
something.
it's not like it predicts the future, so you're like, this could be used for wrong hands. It predicts calamities, which everyone would want to avoid.
That's a really good point. You have Superman's like, "I'll save everyone." You don't. So that means the other people die, you motherfucker.
So the big calamity is that a few days ago, Superman's heart froze at the prophecy it gave forth from its speaking mechanism. On June 17th, Superman will destroy his own son. And he's like, "Oh no,
Jimmy.
I can't destroy Jimmy, so I have to break up the adoption so that I won't have a
It's going to
son."
kill Jimmy. You have to break up Jimmy.
So this is when Jimmy was using his lightning gun that Superman learned about this. So that's why he switches really hard, is because he's like, I had to push you away to keep you from harm. Where I'm like, you didn't need to be like, fuck you, Jimmy, the entire
You didn't have to fucking make him waste his money on a fucking robe that you burned, you piece of shit.
You just got to the
have to
judge
burn
and
the
be like, I don't want this anymore. Instead of being like, do the dishes, bitch.
Couldn't he also have just told Jimmy that
He could have
prophecy
annulled
says I'm gonna
himself.
kill
He
you.
could have judged himself saying, "I don't want to be his dad anymore," and that'll be over at the end.
Yeah, you like
Because Jimmy immediately, if he had told Jimmy this, he would have been able to fix everything. Because Jimmy immediately was like, "Oh, it must be the Superman son that you created, because you would never hurt me. So obviously you heard SON, but it's SUN." And Superman's like, "Oh,
Even though on this
that's
picture
really
it says SON for Superman's son, the flaming star.
It is. I can't believe they spell it wrong in the picture. But it is SUN in the original, but in the
Yes.
flashback they spell
Maybe
it.
they want to make it obvious for the reader.
Yeah, look.
But he says son and son sound exactly alike. It's like joking computer.
Yeah.
So he's like, "Oh, it'll take me a day to reach that distant galaxy." So he flies into space, and he's like, "When I get there," and the star's burned out. So he smashes it to bits and
He
finds a
smashes the
young...
bits to prevent it from being an asteroid to hit that hits other planets.
Yeah, so he finds a young hot star and just pushes it in place
Oh.
so that they have enough light and heat for the Superman planet.
He's so
he's like-
strong. To be able to move stars. Jesus Christ. How can he not catch 4 Jimmy Olsens falling out of a helicopter?
The answer is simple. He
he's like-
didn't want to.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what I want to say. Like, can you imagine like this happens to like one of us with one of you? Like, imagine you have to be a dick for your best friend for 30 days. Like, just be.
I feel like
absolutely-
Sly's about to confess.
Like,
trying to
I've
save
been,
us all
I've, been,
these
I've
years.
been playing the long game for 9 years. I'm sorry I've been a dick, but I've been trying to push you away.
All right, so that damages my point because I was like, I can't imagine being that cruel to any of you for that long. But never mind. But I was gonna say, like, this is like proof that he has disdain for Jimmy. That for 30 days he was fine
Yeah.
with being a dick to him instead
Yeah.
of just telling him the truth.
Yeah.
So Superman's just like, "I feel so bad. I can never adopt you now. The court won't renew it." Even though I feel like if he explained this, it would be okay.
This is a very big technicality that I mistook Superman's son as the son that's going to blow up in the future.
But then Jimmy's like, "Don't apologize, Superman. If you'll recall, you were always out nights doing super jobs. Even if we lived together, we would see so little of each other. But even if I'm not your son, I'm still your boy pal."
Nothing will ever change that, Jimmy. The end.
The end.
And
Wow.
when this ended, I was like, so what was bizarre about this is Superman actually did show up and legitimately wanted to adopt Jimmy.
A bit too eagerly, I might say.
It's just like it changes
papers
the
ready.
relationship into a weird place for me.
I guess it always is kind of like, he's always like kind of like his mentor or caretaker.
Oh my god, yeah, I'm like, oh, it's just Batman and Robin, because I'm like, wouldn't it be weird
Yeah.
if Batman? And I'm like, no, Batman did do that.
A lot of these
though.
people are kind of like father figures for their sidekicks.
Yeah.
That's why Stanley hated sidekicks because the sidekicks were created to be like the avenue for kid readers to like channel their perspective to basically. So you imagine you're Batman. You're not cool enough to be Batman or Superman, but you can imagine yourself being a young, naive Jimmy or Robin.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when Stanley came up with Spider-Man, he's like, no, I want the hero himself to be the flawed person, being the dumb kid doing dumb shit all the time. So that's Stanley thought that he didn't like that. It had to be a very like unapproachable main hero, and the relatable character had to be the sidekick.
We should read some Golden Age Star Spangled Kid, because he's a little boy, and he has a grown man sidekick named Stripesy. And imagine, it's one thing to imagine like Superman wanting to adopt a kid, but imagine being a kid's sidekick and you're like 30.
Yeah.
Star Spangled Kid, I have to look this up. I never heard of this.
Yeah, Star Spangled Kid and Stripesy.
Sometimes you are like a kid's mentor and you're 30 or sidekick, whatever. I don't know what I'm
No,
saying.
the kid is his mentor.
Yeah. Well, sometimes
He's a fucking convict too. Wow.
that'll happen when you
Try
go
to
into
lose
work
a-
and
has
your
a
boss
prison
is
outfit
younger
on.
than you. You're like, I am this kid's sidekick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It happens to all of
It
us.
does happen.
Wow.
Okay.
I had
So-
fun.
Me too.
I guess me too.
I guess. I don't know how you can't enjoy these. These are just like so wild and corny, and sometimes they go in really dumb directions.
It's true. I'm complaining, but I never feel like I'm suffering reading them. It's like, whereas with like other stuff we read, sometimes I'm like, I am suffering reading this.
It's also the like first story was 8 pages, and
Yeah.
this one's what, 10 pages.
That's very
Right.
true. We read 18
That's probably
pages
it, too.
total.
They go fast.
Yeah.
Oh no, they're both 8 pages.
It's also just fun imagining like how
Yeah.
fucked up this whole universe is, like the Silver Age stuff. Because I'm like, how does any of this make any sense? How does this work? And it just makes Superman look worse and worse.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you for listening to another month's Patreon exclusive Divisive Issues episode. I've been Ryan.
I'm Sly.
I've been Phil.
I've been Daryl.
Stay in Patreon mode.